We're getting ready to start. If you might take your seats or take your position. Let's talk about it post. There he is.
Good to see everything good.
Everything's good. We got to make this a personal issue. Not really together.
You got it. You got it.
I'm going to work with time. This makes like really this makes like really ladies and gentlemen, we will begin with a prayer. I would invite Reverend Dr. Valerie Washington, Hewlett Temple, to come forward, please.
Our Father and our God, how wonderful you are to allow us to be here for this special event. You heard the cries of your people. You've seen the protests. You've seen the cries across the world. And we thank you, God. We thank you for another opportunity to be able, God, to get policies changed, dear Father. We thank you for each person that is here and each person that had anything to do with the changes that's going to be made. We ask that your Holy Spirit would just come on in this place, that everything will be done according to your holy word. In Jesus' matchless name, we give you all the glory. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Washington. First of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Gerald Neal. I represent the 33rd Senatorial District, and for those who don't live here, and particularly the first-timers, welcome to the 33rd Senatorial District. I have colleagues, I'm sure, that are here that also represent on various levels as it relates to this district as well, and there's a lot of people here. I'm looking around, and I just see all these faces of these very involved, very important, very essential individuals. So I'm going to probably mess up as I go around, but I do want to acknowledge my mayor, Mayor Beshear. If we give him a round of applause. I'm going to save one for the person that whose event this really is in just a moment. There are others in this room, there are colleagues from the House of Representatives. If you would indicate where you are. We have Leader Joni Jenkins. We have caucus leader in the House, Derek Graham, Representative Stevenson. I think I saw a few more. Oh, my good friend, Representative George Brown. I probably missed, and my good friend, Senator, see, I hesitated on that because Mike Wilson was one of those guys I used to get into a quiet corner with and do deep and heavy policy work. My very good friend, Senator Mike Wilson. Oh, and of course, we have, who did I miss? Reggie, oh, I can't see him. Where is he? Senator Reggie Thomas. If I don't mention him, I'm in big trouble. That's our caucus leader in the Senate. And of course, I have to, he'll get introduced as well later, is our leader, Morgan McGarvey. And of course, we have Senator Stivers, the President of the Senate, present with us today as well, for a very important role he's played while we're here as well. So I know I've missed a number of people. I know my good friend, Reverend Elliott, I always call him my leader. He's present here as well, and I'm going to miss some folks, and I ask you to be patient with me with respect to that. I do want to say that this is a very important, I'd say, sticking a pin in a moment that's happening here today, and it's to bring all these very important people and players in what has made this possible is just absolutely astounding to me. I've witnessed a lot of legislative sessions, but I have to say to you, this has been a peculiarly, it's a mixed bag in a way, but at the end of the day, this is one that makes me feel pretty good. I have to say that. The bipartisan interaction and exchange and discussion was extraordinary. The relationship and the articulation between the legislature and the executive branch was very good. Individuals from outside that we reached out to that inputted this process in a very fluid way was extraordinary. So I have to tell you that I'm very happy to be here today. I'm very happy for Senate District 33 and for all of Kentucky for that reason. Without anything else, I'm going to introduce an individual that this is really whose program this is, and that's our governor. Let me say to you that this governor is extraordinary. I've used that word twice today. Not only is he at home on the local front, not only is he at home on the state front, but he's at home on the national front, representing Kentucky well. Let's give him another applause. I look around the room and I see all the signs of the period that we're in, COVID, and all that it's done in terms of how it's impacted our lives and continues to do so. And I have to give a nod again to our governor because of the extraordinary positions that he's taken, the extraordinary leadership that he's provided, and the steeliness of maintaining that, even in a sea of dynamic and contradicting forces. But he's been a steady hand in that whole process. And I dare say, and I would reach out and say a lot of Kentuckians owe their lives to the fact that we had that type of leadership in Kentucky. We should be proud. Now, I could go on with a lot of other matters because a lot of the legislative matters that we deal with, obviously, between the leadership primarily, and by the way, the governor's office is always open anyway, but that interaction has brought us to this moment as well, and I want to thank the governor for that leadership as well. So I'm going to quit right there. You all have been seeing him all over the airways and so forth, so you probably know some things I don't know as well. So without saying further, Governor Andy Beshear.
Thank you. Man, that feels good to hear. You know, with the last year, we haven't been able to do that as much, but I think today shows how things are starting to change on the COVID front in a very positive way. Good morning. Thank you, Senator Neal, for that kind introduction. Dr. Washington, thank you so much for opening us the right way in prayer, and on a personal note, thank you for your friendship. Thank you to the lawmakers and to the community leaders that are here this morning. I know that I will miss a number, but Raul Cunningham, here this morning. Nikki Jackson Lanier, here this morning. Mayor Fisher, Dr. Benaputi, so many others. I think I see David James back there as well. thank you for your leadership. Mike O'Connell is here. I think I see Reverend Snarden back there too. Thank you for your leadership. And I'm so happy to be back here. Just 2 weeks ago, we were here with a whole room of faith leaders pushing out the successful rollout of safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines. We vaccinated 2,500 Kentuckians that day. I see so many of the same faces whose leadership made that happen, whose hard work protected the lives of their flock and Kentuckians around them. I cannot express my gratitude. And everybody else, I hope you've scheduled your shot of hope. We can, we will defeat this pandemic. Please encourage people to get that vaccine. We're here today to talk about a brighter, better future and how new legislation that I'm signing into law today will help us build the better Kentucky we want for all of our people. Kentucky can only be its strongest when everyone has real opportunity. Kentucky can only be its best when everyone is truly valued. And Kentucky can only be just when everyone is seen, everyone is heard, and no one is left behind. The measures that I am signing today garnered bipartisan support in this divided world. They will promote equity and fairness, both in how resources are allocated, but also who controls how those resources are spent, where wealth is built, and how communities, how people are viewed and treated. Let me admit, this has been a complicated legislative session. For me, I've had doctor's appointments more comfortable than many of the days of this legislative session. But I applaud lawmakers, especially in the final hours and in the final day of the session, for coming together and passing meaningful legislation that put people ahead of politics and living up to our values as a part of Team Kentucky. First, I want to talk about the role of education. Anyone who knows me knows that I believe in transformational change. I believe it's our time, and I believe it's our duty. Education is the most powerful change agent, I believe, in our world. We have leaders here from 2 of our state's higher education institutions, 3 of our higher education institutions. Both leaders behind me have schools that have partnered with this administration and with the state, as has U of L, in creating a better Kentucky. For generations, they've been meeting the need to ensure all students have access to high-quality education. From pre-K through higher ed and beyond, we know education is the key to breaking cycles of poverty and creating a pathway to real opportunity. This week, we move forward with legislation funding full-day kindergarten. That was a great step. But now, we want to talk about progress on more equitable higher education and opportunity for generational change. Senate Bill 270 supports Kentucky's private and public historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, in expanding services to students, particularly in West Louisville. It's going to expand opportunities for teacher preparation programs at Simmons College and encourages further cooperation between Simmons and Kentucky State University. This legislation allows students attending Simmons, Kentucky's only private HBCU, to receive Kentucky tuition grants. In doing so, it's going to boost academic achievement among African American students, both directly and indirectly. The research is clear that African American students achieve more when their teachers look like them. This legislation represents the first step, just one first step, to Simmons establishing an educator preparation program that's going to directly benefit Jefferson County Public Schools in this community to give all of our students that brighter future. Every Kentucky child deserves that, and we cannot stop our efforts to improve public education until it serves absolutely every student, regardless of the circumstances that they come to school having faced. So now, to speak on the importance of this legislation, two great leaders for this state who are doing so much in education and beyond. We have Dr. Kevin Cosby, president of Simmons College, and Dr. Brown, president of Kentucky State University. I'll first ask Dr. Cosby.
Thank you, Governor, for your leadership. And someone has said that in every community there are three groups of people, three categories of people. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who ask, what's happening? We're blessed because we have a governor whose leadership and vision and energy is making things happen. And collaborating with our governor to make this historic legislation happen is our senators. And I want to thank them for making this happen in a bipartisan way. Senator Stivers, thank you for reaching out to me many years ago in your friendship. Senator McGarvey, thank you, sir. Senator Neal, someone asked me, are you left wing or are you right wing? I'm neither left wing or right wing. I just want the whole bird. And the whole bird has made this historic legislation happen. I want to thank you so very much. Also to my colleague Christopher Brown, who is also a pastor, Baptist pastor. So the two historic black institutions, historic HBCUs, also are pastors of historic black Baptist churches. And so I thank you, my friend, for your wisdom, your counsel, your friendship, and your mentorship. You are a stellar leader, and I take great pride as the president of Simmons with collaborating with you to make a difference in higher education. Someone said to me, well, education's too expensive. I said, wrong. Education is not what's expensive. Ignorance is what's expensive. The data shows that the more education you have, the higher your income level is. So not to have an education is a form of self-sabotage. And I want to thank the leaders of our state for passing this historic legislation that will allow Simmons College to do what it came into existence for. Since we're in a historic building that celebrates black history, let me read something historic. This book was written in 1916, the year after Booker T. Washington died. Booker T. Washington was the educator, the great educator, post-Reconstruction. And in this book that honors Booker T. Washington, it says this on page 44. This was written in 1916. On its own initiation, the freed race began to found schools to found them in their ignorance. It was a racial groundswell. About 5% of the emancipated people could read and write, and these were not slow to inject the spirit into the rest of their people. And by the time the states were ready to inaugurate a system of schools, no class was more responsive than the late slaves. Some of the former slaves who had heard of colleges and universities but never seen either aspired to found such schools, to found them in their ignorance. The most remarkable instance occurred at Louisville, Kentucky, where a group of unlettered ex-slaves met in an old building in August succeeding the close of the war in April 1865. And though bearing the marks of slavery on their bodies and simply knowing that a university meant a place of learning, took steps to begin a school which gradually developed into what came to be known as State University of Kentucky, a large and flourishing college for colored people, which stands today in Louisville with buildings and grounds in the heart of that city. Throughout the years from that early time till now, it has done an excellent work, not alone for the colored race, but for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and is still a great educational lighthouse to a struggling people. That was written in 2016 when Simmons was named State University. 2 years later, they would rename the school after President Simmons, William J. Simmons. This was written 105 years ago. And today, because of this legislation, Simmons College is still an educational lighthouse for struggling people. As we move beyond COVID-19, and in light of what took place across our nation with the tragic deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, it is critically important that we have a reset in our city, state, and nation. And we must have a reset where resets really matter. And this is where resets matter. We must have a reset of our mindset. And the reset in our mindset, especially as it relates to the black community, is simply this: race is an artificial construct. Race, which attributes value to one group and devalues another group just based on skin color, is an artificial construct. Ethnicity is real. Race is socially constructed. And here is the mindset that we must reset, that we just don't seem to get, that the governor and these legislators have gotten. We just don't get it, and that's the reason we keep making the same mistake, and it seems like racial justice and racial reconciliation is so elusive. Here's the mindset that must be reset. It's not deep. Here it is. Those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. If you want to fix West Louisville or any distressed community, empower the people who are in those communities to fix their own problems. And this legislation will do it. So on behalf of Simmons Nation and all those who came before me, beginning in 1865, we say, thank you. The best is yet to come. Go Simmons Nation.
Good morning to my friend, Dr. Cosby. He made me feel like preaching there for a moment. Protocol has been established. I rise on behalf of the Board of Regents, the faculty, the students, and the alumni of Kentucky State University to thank Governor Beshear, and certainly recognition to Senator McGarvin, but especially our Senate President, Robert Stivers, and all of the Legislative Black Caucus. I see our alumni here, some of our faculty here, some of our wannabe alumni here, George, and to our own alum and Senator Gerald Neal, who helped Kentucky State and Simmons with the passage of Senate Bill 270. It is particularly, and what are you talking about, my senator? He's Kentucky State, not Simmons. You can't claim them all, Cosby. Can't claim them all. But I think it's in particular important to note that at a time when our nation is struck with rancor and partisanship, that here in Kentucky, our governor and General Assembly has been able to pass Senate Bill 270. It is bold, it is imaginative, and it is future-focused and in the best interest of all. It is our position that the legislation is a clear recognition that the Commonwealth knows and now understands the unique and particular needs of all of its citizens, particularly those here in West Louisville. On yesterday, I was, and that's why I have the legislation here with me, I was having dinner downtown, eating fried foods, high in cholesterol, and Senator Stivers, unlike me, was exercising and walking up and down the street with his wife. And I told him I'd see him today, and he said, we began to talk about the legislation. I focused on a piece of it, and he said, Brown, you have to read the whole legislation again. There's some more in there. And so on last night, I pulled the legislation again, and I was struck actually by how LRC had indexed the bill. Under Senate Bill 270, LRC has 4 indexes. The first is West Louisville Health and Wellness Pilot Project. The second is West Louisville Historically Black Colleges and Universities Pilot Project. The third is Kentucky State University West Louisville Health and Wellness Pilot Project. And the fourth is Kentucky State University West Louisville Historically Black Colleges and Universities Pilot Project. This is important because E. Franklin Frazier said that there are 3 institutions central to the success of the black community. The first is the black family, the second is the black church, and the third is the black college. With this legislation, the state has issued a mandate and a charge for the state's only public HBCU and its only land-grant institution to bring to bear all of our resources in West Louisville, to assist in the rapid production of teachers for our hard-to-staff schools, to assist in increasing the preparation of K-12 educators and administrators, especially African Americans, and then the biggies, to partner in Louisville with Simmons College to bring and deliver Kentucky State's academic offerings in West Louisville. We have been charged to bring education to the front door. Individuals do not have to leave their community to advance. They can grow where they are and serve where they live. Kentucky State, with this signing, will be authorized by the legislature to accept transfer credits from Simmons, eliminating what has been a huge barrier for us. And students who attain the associates will now be able to come to one of the state's public institutions for their bachelor's, master's, and beyond. And more importantly, we will work with CHFS and our Ag Extension to address health services, employment, holistic family services through the Neighborhood Place program, and to address the issue of food deserts. Senate Bill 270 for us is a game changer. If there's a soundbite, let me say that again. Senate Bill 270 is a game changer. With the stroke of a pen today, the Commonwealth will have put its money where its mouth is. We will no longer be asking our citizens to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when we know they don't even own shoes. We will be offering a helping hand in standing up, walking forward, and being successful members of the community. This bill, Governor, we owe you a salute, and senators, is the best in state government. Let me close this way because Dr. Cosby has let the cat out that I am a Baptist preacher. I don't typically tell people, but you've outed me today. And I don't know if everyone made it to Easter service on Sunday, but in Sunday school I learned an important lesson, and it was reinforced by this legislation. And that is that you don't have to come out to be blessed. You can be blessed right where you are. I reflected on the woman with the issue of blood. She didn't leave. She was blessed right in the midst of the crowd. I think about the Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were blessed in the midst of the fiery furnace. Daniel, who was blessed in the midst of the lion's den. The woman of Samaria, who was blessed right there at the well. And for those who missed Sunday, Jesus the Christ, who was in the tomb Friday night and Saturday night, but early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hands. And so Kentucky State is excited that Senate Bill 270 allows the citizens of West Louisville to be blessed right where they are. There's no need to move. Kentucky State University will leave Frankfort, and we will come to you. Thank you for this opportunity, Governor.
I think I'm the only non-pastor speaking today. We're now going to sign Senate Bill 270 to put our money where our mouth is. So I'd invite both presidents as well as any of our legislative leadership, and if we have any of the bill sponsors up here, and let's make this law. That's fine. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention two folks from my administration that are here with us today. The top appointed official in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Michael Brown, the Executive Cabinet Secretary. As well as our Personnel Cabinet Secretary, the one in charge of all the hiring and sometimes the other thing, Jarena Weathers. All right, next, let's talk about something that I think Reverend Cosby had started talking about, how we can truly begin to empower this community. House Bill 321 is bipartisan legislation that aims to foster transformational change in West Louisville. Currently, 80 cents of every dollar of revenue developed or generated in West Louisville ends up leaving. This means wealth isn't building up in West Louisville, it's exiting West Louisville. This legislation will create $30 million of initial investment in the West End. That is a good start to address decades of neglect? And who will decide how these funds are utilized? Community leaders who live here. Leaders that work here. West Louisville doesn't need outside consultants. People in this room know what the needs are and know how to make the positive change. There just haven't been the resources that the state has dedicated. That begins to change today. This new law will create a tax increment finance district, or TIF, to draw economic opportunities to the West End without forcing displacement, so the West End can maintain its strong sense of community and culture. Now, this legislation isn't perfect. No legislation is perfect, nor was the process in which it was passed, but I had trust that the community leaders here today that are going to make up this board can make it work. And I say I have trust because I've watched it. Many of the people in this room are the leaders that took us from the summer when we had disproportionate death due to COVID and turned it around, that saved lives, that made incredible change in the midst of a pandemic. And if we can do that, we can do this too. We have to invest in our communities that have been left behind for far too long. Whether in Western Kentucky or West Louisville, we want to build communities where our children can learn, where they can live, and where they are excited to raise their families. Now, I want to invite Representative Pamela Stevenson and Senate Minority Leader Morgan McGarvey to talk about this great investment. Senate Majority Leader Robert Stivers, also instrumental in this. He's going to be up on the next bill, and I'm sure can offer comments on this as well. So, Representative Stevenson, first of all, thank you for your passionate work during this session. We are so excited to have you in Frankfort.
This is the day. This is the day. See, when they trace back, how does this world work for all people? They'll trace it back to the state of Kentucky. Great leaders, great business partners, great people that have the heart to do what God has called them to do. I am happy, happy, happy to be here with you today for this bill signing. But make no mistake, this is not just a social signing. This is a I do. I'm going to put aside my thoughts about things, and I'm going to live for the greater good. I'm going to make decisions consistent with what works for all people and not what I like. See, these leaders have set it up for us so that we can take the ball and run. Now, I'm telling you, I was born and raised in West Louisville, and I remember when we had dude ranches, fountain ferry skating rinks, and we're going to have more than that now. But here's the good news, and a day full of good news. As West Louisville goes, so goes the state of Kentucky, because we will prosper. You can't have a community of 67,000 people not be thriving and expect that the state is going to thrive. We got to do this thing. And so I'm asking everyone that's here, everyone that's watching, everyone that is breathing, be the one that makes this work. We've given you everything you asked for. You wanted an organization that was going to build businesses in West Louisville. Check. You wanted an organization that was going to move people from being renters to homeowners. Check. You wanted to have a voice in what was done in your neighborhood. Check. A board that's 51% West Louisvillians. Check. A governor that cares. Check. Leaders that care. Check. Now the only thing missing is you. Don't tell me you can't do it, because I've seen you do something with nothing, and now you got 30 million somethings. This is just the beginning. It's not the end-all, be-all. It's got some holes, but I know some hole fillers. I just want to thank you and implore each one of you, everybody here, go find somebody you like and love and get them on the train, the TIF train, the West Louisville investment train. 80 cents of your dollars coming back to your neighborhood. You'll never have to leave for a Starbucks. You'll never have to leave for a sit-down restaurant. We'll have gymnastics schools, dance schools, you name it, we want it, we're going to get it. We just need you. This is the beginning. So pledge today that you're going to be the one that is the one that makes the difference for the state of Kentucky. Thank you.
My grandfather said you need to learn something every day. That's what he told me. Today I have learned never to follow two Baptist preachers and Pam Stevenson in a speaking contest. Woo! Pam, you are on fire today just as you were during the entire session. I'll tell you, I don't think anybody in the history of Frankfort has had a better freshman session than Colonel Pam Stevenson. At one point, I think President Stivers and I were coming down there to the house saying, Pam, get this through. And she just looked at us and said, okay. And she did it. Thank you all for being here today. You can go have a seat. You can go have a seat. Thank you guys for being here today. There's a few people to recognize who have not been recognized yet. I do want to recognize Senator Julie Rocky Adams, who got here. And Senator Adams played an enormous role in getting the West End Opportunity Partnership through the General Assembly. He played an enormous role in planning and attending all the meetings, and she wasn't here when we got started, so I'm glad she's here now and gets that recognition. Thank you for the other bills that are here. You know, we've got Dr. Frank Smith, who has been such an important part of what's going on at Simmons College. Chris Sanders, we have Steve Poe, Craig Greenberg, John McCarthy on the West End Opportunity Partnership. I see David James back there, Dr. Ben DePuty, thank you for your leadership. I'm going to leave people out, so I'm going to stop now, but I'll go with one last thank you and introduction. And that is the young woman you just saw up here. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce my daughter, Clara McGarvey, who's with me today. And I'm glad she was, because this is a true story. We're driving down here this morning together. Don't tell JCPS. I thought she'd learn more here today than she might in virtual school. But so here she is, and it's real quiet in the car. And she says, Dad, what are you thinking about? I said, well, honestly, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say when we get down there. And she goes, well, maybe I can help you. I said, okay, let's hear about it. And so in their little civics class this year, they're still watching the Schoolhouse Rock version of how a bill becomes a law. And so she says, I think you should talk about that. And you know what? It got me thinking. That's a great idea. Because that song tells you all about the difficulties of a bill becoming a law. And any of us here, especially in the legislative process, Couture, you know this, can talk about how difficult it is for a bill to become a law. So oftentimes when you come to a bill signing like this, it marks the end. That bill has traveled all the way through both the chambers and all the legislators and all the interest groups, the people who like it, the people who don't like it, and it's the end. But today is distinctly different, because today marks a beginning. Look at Senate Bill 270 with Simmons College. This is a beginning. And what Dr. Cosby, Dr. Brown at K-State, Dr. Smith, what everyone has done is incredible. We have 2 wonderful HBCUs here in Kentucky. But today with that bill, we marked a beginning. We planted seeds in their garden that under their leadership, I'm confident when we're back together 15, 20 years from now, we are going to see the possibilities that have grown from those seeds. Because for Kentucky to truly make that next step, we need strong HBCUs. For Louisville to truly make that next step, we need a strong HBCU in this city. Not just for the people of Kentucky, but for the people of the country and how they view us. It's a beginning. Senate Bill 321, the West End Opportunity Partnership. What a beginning this can be. Sure, as Representative Stevenson said, there's a few holes in it, but we're going to fill them. Because this is going to finally reinvest, and I mean reinvest. This is an area of Louisville that has been home to some of our biggest corporations. But the tax dollars didn't stay here. The money wasn't invested to help the people of West Louisville. What this bill does simply is say, we've heard it. We've heard the calls for change, and understand that we have to have tools that empower the people of West Louisville to invest themselves in themselves, but for the benefit of everyone. And that's what this bill does. Then we have Senate Bill 4. It's a beginning. Doesn't have everything I would want in it, but it says that we've heard calls for justice, and that we know our drug policies, our policing policies must be equitable. And in that sense, it's a beginning too. Because it's not just a beginning of the policies that will start. It's a beginning of the recognition of how we see things in Frankfort. It's a beginning, finally, in the Kentucky General Assembly that systemic racism is in fact real, that it is man-made, and that only we can undo it. Look at Senate Bill 270. You want examples of systemic racism? Simmons College has wonderful students and wonderful faculty. But the structures put in place to have a teacher accreditation program prevent Simmons College from being what it can be. By undoing those, Dr. Cosby, we recognize that while HBCUs are only 3% of college and college graduates in the country, 50% of black teachers come from HBCUs. By undoing what was in place, we have given the opportunity to say that Simmons College can have its teaching program, that K-State, as Dr. Brown said, can continue to thrive and succeed without having to come back to us every time. We've recognized what was wrong and have begun to fix it. With the West End Opportunity Partnership, Dr. Brown said it and I agree with it. It's a recognition that you can't ask people to pull themselves up from their bootstraps when they don't have boots. That we have not invested as we should. In fact, we've prevented it. We've kept it from happening. And that how it happened wasn't an accident in the first place. That legalized discrimination from the government in healthcare, education, lending, policing, housing, even marriage, made things how they became. All the programming and all the money in the world can't undo that. It must be undone in policy, and that's what we've started today. It's a recognition, Ms. Palmer, that we in Frankfort are willing to say her name, Breonna Taylor. We must ban no-knock warrants and look intentionally at the policies that led to that night. And it's a beginning of something else that hasn't been talked as much or celebrated as much with these bills. Governor, I agree with your assessment. I'll one-up you. Some days of the session felt more like a dentist appointment to me than a doctor's appointment. Yeah. But you know what? At the end, there was a beginning. We saw the General Assembly and the Governor's office come together with the American Rescue Plan. These bills were passed in the final days. We saw Democrats and Republicans, and maybe more importantly, urban and rural legislators, working together to pass policies, sure, that benefit where we're standing, but that we are truly all in this together. And if we are going to stay in it together and go forward together, we have to build policies for everyone through the lens of equity that will last long after we're gone. And for those reasons, I am so excited about what we're doing today, even though there's still a lot of work left to go. Thanks for all of you who helped make these bills happen, and thanks for all of you who will keep these bills going forward.
So we now ask those that helped get this bill passed, along with our mayor here in Louisville, who called me personally in support of it, as well as the organizations that under the statute will have a place on the board, like U of L. Let's sign this incredible opportunity, $30 million of investment, controlled by folks who live here to make this a better place. Let's sign it into law. Congratulations. Morgan, did you get a pen? She got a pen. Okay. All right. I also want to announce that beginning on Monday, Pamela Stevenson will give the COVID update at 4 o'clock. All right. Finally, I want to address an issue that has caused such pain and deep sorrow in this community, in this country, and in this world. While the pain has been felt far and wide across the nation, no one is hurt more than Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, as well as her family. Lawmakers came together across party lines to pass Senate Bill 4, which restricts the use of no-knock warrants to protect both the public and those in law enforcement. I cannot imagine the depths of pain of losing a child. As a parent, I'll admit to you, it's my greatest fear. It's what keeps me awake more at night than anything else. I think about when my kids were born and how I didn't know you could love someone that amount. I can't understand your pain. And I can't pretend to understand the pain of hundreds of years of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, racism, and discrimination. But I can listen, and I can try to hear. And today, thanks to the work of a lot of people, I can act. I'm signing Senate Bill 4 to ensure another mother never goes through the pain that Tamika Palmer has felt. I talked to Senator Neal and to other lawmakers after this tragedy. We talked about the possibility of a special session, about how important doing right in this moment truly is. And Senator Neal and I remember Senator Thomas gave good counsel. They did not want to act with haste. They wanted to do it right. They wanted to create meaningful change. This is meaningful change. It will save lives, and it moves us in the right direction. But I am listening, and I know more much more needs to be done. I know the fight is not over, and as we continue to move forward, we will continue to push. Thank you, Tamika. Thank you to your entire family. Thank you for being willing to give voice in tragedy. And I hope you view today as a homage to your daughter and also to your relentlessness in making sure that she's not forgotten. And today I think we absolutely know that Breonna Taylor is here with us. I welcome Senator Stivers and Senator Neal, two individuals who worked together on the Senate side to make this happen, to elaborate on both how we got here and the need of this bipartisan legislation. Senator Stivers.
Thank you, Governor, for asking me to come up, and to the Breonna Taylor family, truly my sympathies and condolences to you. I want to, on a day that is one that is enthusiastic and a lot of celebration, I want to say this to my colleagues. Worked extensively with not just Senator Neal on this, because much of the top part of the language was his and substituted in. Senator Thomas as well. We had many discussions about the language and how it should be and the practical implications of the justice system. And so we were able to come together with Senate Bill 4 along with former officers, both Republican and Democrat, that looked at this, and we came with a piece of legislation that we felt was an appropriate step in dealing with the circumstances, obtaining, and use and ramifications of no-knock warrants. And I want to say this and bring it to more of a brighter spot, because truly, I know Reverend Cosby talked about the fact, I think it was a couple years ago, well before any of this happened, we sat down at the college and talked, just talked. But truly, this was the impetus, things that happened in Louisville, for this group to come together. Senator Neal, Senator Adams, myself, can't say enough for Yvonne and Nikki and Keturah, David James. We quietly sat around the table with Steve Poe and John McCarthy and other individuals to think, how can we right wrongs? I can't change the past, but I can hopefully change the trajectory of the future. And this is what this whole series of bills will do. And I know President Brown talked about poverty in a sense of not having shoes or boots to pull up by the bootstraps. Well, when I look at what we've done here today, I can't say that I understand poverty. I don't think any of us can here, because my parents were teachers and professionals and pushed me to go through school. But I know what it's like to see it, because the poorest zip code in the state of Kentucky is my backyard. And so we have to do things different. We have to change that trajectory. And it comes with education. It comes with health care. It comes with economic opportunity. And it comes with a just court system. And that's what everything here today is doing. So I cannot say enough for the work of the individuals that came together with Senate Bill 270, with two bills that deal with the West End Opportunity Partnership, and Senate Bill 4. Because truly, truly, it will change with this the trajectory of the whole state. And so with a certain sense of pride, a certain sense of enthusiasm, I say it is not the Omega, it is the Alpha. And to the Taylor family, your daughter was part of that Alpha, the change. And I thank you all for being here and truly express my condolences to you all. But with that, I think we need to celebrate. And if I can, Governor, I'm going to have a little attitude. You're looking at two of the oldest serving members in the state Senate now, myself and Gerald Neal. I call him Gerald because we've known each other now for 25 years, and I cannot say enough about the impact Gerald has had on this process. And I appreciate our friendship of the two old guys in the Senate.
Gerald. Thank you, Mr. President. You didn't get that, did you? I'm going to ask Senator Thomas to come up, if he will. Where are you? Here, why don't you make a comment?
Well, first I want to say that right now all of us recognize that this nation is gripped in anguish and pain as we watch the trial of George Floyd. And what we hope for and what we pray for is that justice will be done and that we can turn the page and begin a new day and a better day. But that wasn't the only trauma that we lived through in 2020. Certainly there was COVID, no question about it. So there was a lot of loss of jobs, and there was a lot of pain there. There's also a lot of pain felt right here in Kentucky. And that pain wasn't felt just in Louisville. It was felt in my hometown of Lexington. It was felt across the nation and felt across the world. And as this legislation or legislative session started, it was clear that we had to do something, that Kentucky had to say that we have to right a wrong. And I'm here today to certainly applaud my Senate President, President Stivers. And I know I embarrass him when I say this, but it's so true. My mentor, and the one who's guided me, Senator Neal, Senator McGarvey, my floor leader, and others, to say that we have now taken a step in the right direction to right that wrong. And I won't talk much longer, Ms. Palmer, but I do want to say this. I think we heard her name. We were asked repeatedly to say her name. I think we heard her name. But I hope with the signing of this legislation today that there will be no other names ever here in Kentucky that we'll have to say or hear again. I'll turn it back to you, Gerald.
So I'd like to do this bill signing in two parts. First, to honor Breonna, I'd like to invite the family and friends up, and we'll sign the first part of it, and then we'll ask everybody else who worked on the bill to come up and join us as we date it and make it law. So if you all be willing to join us, I'll sign this into law.
Prior to Senator Neal closing us out, and I truly want to make this a high note and a high point, because there were a lot of other people who were involved in this. And to my good friends at Simmons College and K-State, I have to show President Bendapuni my one mask that I'll wear out. But truly, I want people to understand, as this alpha, a beginning, this is a wonderful tool, I think, that we've created. And it's a little bit odd, a little bit different. But I know that Representative Stevens and the Minority Leader, Joni Jenkins, were instrumental in getting this passed in the last minutes. And it all related to 270 with Senator McGarvey, some of my other colleagues, how we worked together, Senator Adams, myself, Senator Neal, I cannot say enough for, Senator McGarvey about the West End Opportunity Partnership. But truly, there's a lot of other people here that were involved. Nick Lanier, Yvonne Smith, Katura Heron, David James, Steve Poe, Craig Greenberg, John McCarthy. We came here, we listened, we worked. And I think I want the individuals of this community to understand it is a tool that is only as good as the hands it goes in. The initial investment from the city, the state, and private enterprise will be $30 million. But if you understand what a TIF is, we've created a floor. Now, all economic opportunity that generates more tax dollars from here till the end of the TIF, if $10 million of new tax revenues are generated, that means $8 million a year is reinvested into this community. If you reinvest and you make the right decisions and it goes to $20 million, that means $16 million a year till the end of the TIF is reinvested into the community. So with a wonderful board in place that will have to make some tough decisions and understand cash flows and finances, and understand, as Gerald always brought me back to, what the community needs and the community input is. It is really a very good day, a new beginning for the West End of Louisville. But the reason I wore this in is because it's a new day and a great day for the state of Kentucky as a whole. United we stand, and divided we fall. So to Gerald and all of my colleagues, I cannot say enough for all the things that we have accomplished here. And to the governor and the mayor, it's now up to your appointments to make it work. And I appreciate the cooperation we've gotten from you. And thank you all for allowing us to be here. Gerald.
I cannot tell you how excited I am about what's happened here today. I want to acknowledge one more time the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky for his leadership and the advice, the input, the insights that he's provided, and his strength in coming forth with those things that he knows is necessary for a very diverse community called the Commonwealth of Kentucky to come together around legislation. So, Governor, one more time for the governor, please. I'm going to make a brief comment about each of these bills, starting with Senate Bill 270. I have to say that everything really hasn't been said by two preachers, but really two extraordinary leaders, individuals who have put themselves in a position that sometimes is thankless by those who don't understand or fallen too far behind or have lost faith in the process. But this is all about hope. Every aspect of this is about hope. And what happens at Kentucky State University and Simmons University is all about hope. But I call it applied hope, because these leaders and all those affiliated with them have put their heart and soul into this. I've watched them, I've talked to them, I've heard their pain, and sometimes they'll listen to what I say, but just a little bit. But I've seen it. It's real. Most people don't see that, and I understand that. But I want you to know that worthy, this leadership, these institutions, clearly worthy of the support that's being given here today, that's demonstrated by this legislation. But I do want to say that ain't enough. We're going to have to go further. Everyone said here that this is a beginning. So what that means, in my mind, every legislative session, we should be focused on strengthening these two institutions. And you know what? I have hope that that's going to happen. You guess why? Because of the leadership that I've seen demonstrated this session, this cycle, that I got to say, I have not seen it at this level before, as exemplified by Robert, our Senate President, as well as the House Speaker, David Osborne. So I have hope that we're going to continue along these paths with respect to these two fine institutions and what they mean to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and all of us inside of that. As it relates to Senate Bill 4, Senate Bill 4 certainly is not, I would say it's not the result I envisioned. But after I sat down and I thought about it and I saw how it was crafted and how it had to follow a certain path, and the openness of Senator Stivers, the openness of others that were around, even those that were disappointed by what they thought they were looking at, they participated in the process. And even though it may have fallen short of expectations of some, when you really scrutinize Senate Bill 4, it is restrictive. But more importantly to me is that it does focus on these issues related to no-knock warrants. And what that means—
around 30,000 pharmacies participating in the program. That's an increase of over 70% in less than 2 weeks. And we are on track to meet the President's goal of nearly 40,000 local pharmacies by April 19th. Second, on federally run mass vaccination sites, our mass vaccination sites, located in some of the most underserved neighborhoods in the nation, are run and staffed by FEMA and DoD personnel in close partnership with state and local officials. And these sites have a combined capacity to administer 110,000 shots per day. On March 29th, the President challenged us to open at least a dozen new sites by April 19th. We've brought 9 online in the last 10 days. And today we're announcing 2 new sites in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Third, we are making progress on meeting people where they are. More than 500 community health centers are already receiving vaccine directly from the federal government. These community health centers serve nearly 30 million Americans. 2/3 of community health center patients live at or below the poverty line, and 60% are racial and ethnic minorities. As we announced earlier this week, we're expanding our community health center vaccine program so that all of the nearly 1,400 community health centers can sign up to receive and administer vaccines. Overall, across the country, there are now more than 66,000 sites where Americans can go to get a shot. And by April 19th, we will meet the President's goal of ensuring 90% of Americans have a vaccination site within 5 miles of where they live. On vaccine supply,